My name is Simon Roberts and I'm an actor. I think when I was still at school, both my parents were actors, and so I grew up in that environment. And I think when I was deciding what I wanted to do when I was at school, I'd been in lots of school plays, and the only stipulation was to stay on and do A levels, and then after that, the decision was mine. Oh, lots. um, but most recently, I was in Nicholas Nickleby, which was at Chichester Theatre, which it was done about, I think, 25 years ago, something like that, by the RSC, and then they decided to put it on again, and I played several things in that, and I've worked at lots of theatres in the country, particularly the Crucible. I mean, there was a period of about 3 years that I did about 10 plays, and I was working there on and off. And television, I've been doing a bit of television recently. I did an episode of Doctors, and lots of things really across the board. The first one was about 10 years ago, and it was called Learning to Love the Grey. And most recently, I've been in Breathing Country. Learning to Love the Grey was about stem cell therapy and the pros and cons of that. And I was playing a doctor in that. And in Breathing Country, the most recent one, it was about the NHS database. And I was playing someone that works for the government, who is basically a public relations person who is trying to get the message across to the public of how valuable and useful the database is going to be. What you learn about it is to understand that they're not just a captive audience in the same way that they are in the theatre. I mean, for as much as the school and the teachers, and they're extremely diligent, say to the children, there's a theatre company coming today, you've got to, pay attention and concentrate and everything. With the best will in the world, I mean, very often they either don't or they can't, and they can be, they're volatile, even, and so, they're not sitting there just, quietly in a darkened room. They're sitting there in a very light and very often huge room, and the environment is not the same as a theatre at all. And what it does, without question, is it sharpens you. It's quite nerve-wracking, to begin with, and but it's. I think it's a good and stimulating thing to do. I think everyone should do it. Well, the school aspect is the most different. I mean, I've never worked for any other company that works with children, so that's the one and obvious difference. And practically speaking, yes, because when you go to a theatre, you have a dressing room, and everything is delineated. You have people who fulfil jobs. I mean, actors sometimes. Actors can be the smallest part of the group. I mean, if you've got a play with 2 or 3 actors in it, and you've got stage managers and costume makeup and all those sorts of people, an army of people to look after you. That's not what it's like with White Tour. Understandably, obviously. I mean, it's there aren't the resources there, and you're working in schools, and so working with them is not just about the acting. That's obviously a big part, but it's also to do with, helping put up the set, take it down, unload the van, load the van up, and so there are all those sorts of things as well. The most important thing I think about it is the fact that it gets across 2 things. It gets issues across to children, and it gets performances across. It gets plays. I mean, in the form of plays. I mean, issues you can deal with. A teacher can stand up in front of a class and talk about stem cell therapy and lots of other things as well. But to expose children to live theatre at such a young age, I think, is really important, because they are seeing something. They're, even when they're sitting and they're watching, they're still involved in a way that you can't do with the television. You're engaged, you've got real people, and it does make a difference. I think it would be that word, committed. I would say is a dedicated group of people who are successfully getting across important issues to school children.